This week's scenario is Breakdown from the 2017 Steamroller packet. This scenario does have the Killbox Artifice in effect and consists of 2 circular zones, which can be controlled for 1 CP by units, warcasters, and warlocks, and 1 rectangular zone which can be controlled for 1 CP by warjacks, warbeasts, battle engines, warcasters, and warlocks. Victory conditions consist of earning 5 more control points than your opponent, or caster assassination.
Hey everybody, this is Gaston, and today we're playing Goreshade the Forgiven. Not really sure what he did wrong, but I guess they got over it. He's the new Retribution caster that came out over Ret Christmas this summer, so we're pretty excited to get him on the table. In this case, I went ahead and played the Shadows of Retribution theme force, because I thought it synergized best with his abilities.
This is an Lich W, and this week I decided to bring out Bloody Barnabas using the Blindwater congregation theme. With 3 Ironback Spitters, 3 Posses, wanted to have fun with that Posse members going back to 8 boxes per model. For deployment, I started by putting a Posse unit in the middle, with the 3 Ironback Spitters relatively close to my caster, and a Posse unit at each end. The idea I'm going for is to try and jam all the zones with my Posse. They should have enough wounds to hold the zones for a couple turns, and set up assassination with Barnabas through his feet.
So I put a decent amount of thought into this list actually, and we'll kind of go through what everything is meant to do in here. My thoughts on deployment were obviously you have a wall there, but given Barnabas' feet, it's going to be difficult. One of the things I do actually adore about this list though, is the amount of advanced deployment you get. So even when you do unfortunately lose a roll and end up going second, you're still able to actually take up a fair amount of board real estate, and all these advanced deployment models have guns. Now obviously the Mage Hunter Strike Force is a lot stronger into Warjacks because of Jack Hunter, but we're going to see if we can't ping up a little bit of the Posse as well on their way in.
Alright, so going along with my initial plan, everything is going to run forward essentially. I'm going to start by putting out Barnabas' Swamp, so he doesn't get shot at early on. And then as I kind of work out my positions while I'm moving my caster or warlock, I decide that everyone's running forward as far as they can. Everyone's going to dirge a mist and run forward. What I'm thinking is if I get my Posse far enough up the field, my opponent won't be able to get anyone into the zone without being within the threat range of the Posse. So I'm trying to use those to dictate terms, because my opponent's infantry, although they're high defense, they're low armor, so I'm hoping that the Posse is going to be enough to scare them all. Because I figure he's probably going to need, I forget what the map works out to, but he's going to need at least 2 Mage Hunters to try and knock out a Posse member.
So when I first started looking at Goreshade's suite of abilities and spells, it really leapt out at me that I felt like I wanted him to be a gunline caster. He has Ghost Walk in order to get things disengaged, he's got Chiller, which actually helps to make your guns more accurate, and in addition to that I had actually planned him out to be a Warmachine drop because of the interaction between Backlash and Jack Hunter on the Mage Hunter Strike Force. Now obviously kind of with the way the channel works, you don't always get the matchups you want. So now I'm sitting here with my poor Mage Hunters taking pot shots into Arm 16 Gators, and they're having some problems kind of breaking that armor. The other thing I wanted to point out real quick here is a mistake that I made was I did not spread them out enough at the bottom, particularly against those Ironback Spitters. They have the 4-inch AoE, and that's just going to wreak havoc amongst that poor unit. I kind of kicked myself after I laid them all out, so I actually fixed it on the top side. The other thing that I think is really key in this matchup for me is having Helios in there, because Helios is rather difficult for his army to take out all at once. He kind of has to sandpaper him. So if I can use Helios to kind of isolate out the threats, prevent him from getting charged too much, and remember to have the Arcanist allocate him focus before he moves, which is always very important, but thanks for measuring, then I think I can leverage a lot of pressure on my opponent that'll be very difficult for him to deal with. The flip side is Barnabas is pretty good with those swamp hits about protecting things from Helios.
So my opponent didn't move up like I was kind of expecting, but I know on my opponent's right flank, which is the Mage Hunter Strike Force unit that's closest to the camera in the blue zone, he left them a little more clumped together than his second unit. So I decided that's probably going to be my priority. So continuing to stick with my initial plan. Once I get an idea of where I want my next swamp pit to go, I'm going to work on ways to move my army forward. By that I mean run everyone forward again, because why not? If I'm going to continue to move Barnabas up the field, I need to try and give him some cover so my opponent doesn't have direct charge lane. So after I begin moving my posse, what I really like about this is if my opponent starts trying to whittle away at my posse specifically, he's going to leave, well, hopefully he's going to leave some other valuable targets open. So after I put basically two posse members in front of, or two posse squads in front of Barnabas, I begin moving my heavy war beasts. Now because my opponent clumped that Mage Hunter Strike Force unit in the blue zone kind of close together, I just lobbed a random shot in there, hoping to hit someone. I got pretty good deviation. I managed to get 5 of the Strike Force members under the 4-inch template, and of those 5 I killed 4. So that worked out pretty well. And then I I measured out, and I ended up charging the posse into the blue zone. My opponent had 4 guys left, and I didn't feel that my opponent was going to be able to knock out the entire posse squad with those remaining 8 guys. I got lucky enough and I was able to take out another one on the charge, leaving him down to 7. So then I started moving the rest of my war beasts and putting some damage into Helios. So shot at him with one of the spitters. Want to get some early damage on there because I know I don't have very good armor cracking ability, so I need to start putting damage early and often. And then with the last Ironback Spitter, I went ahead and just lobbed another shot into the other posse unit. Or not posse unit, other Mage Hunter Strike Force unit. Didn't get as good of a scatter like I did the first time, but I still ended up taking out a couple guys.
So clumping up in the bottom definitely bit me in the butt. There's a lesson to be learned there. But now it's time to get to work. So when I originally included the Chimera in the list, it was obviously arc node so that you can apply backlash to your opponent's warjacks. When you don't have anything for a Chimera to do, what they make really good things to do is two-handed throws. So when you're playing against Gatormen Posse and things like that, 2 things that Gatormen Posse really don't like is to be shot at, and don't like to be knocked down. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the Chimera come up, he's going to do a two-handed throw on that posse right next to the tent, back into his buddies, we're going to try to knock down a few of them to screw up their charge lanes on the Helios. At the same time, what we're going to try to do is remove the things that are blocking Helios from being able to yank one of those turtles in and kill him off. You notice that Barnabas is now in front of the wall, so that way he's really trying to push forward with his feet and knock me down and kill me, which is not very nice. So what we're going to do is we're going to have that magic distance of 17 inches, that's speed 5, and then 12-inch control area to make sure that I'm outside of his threat range. So the Chimera goes up, he hits, and unfortunately he fails the strength check, so I'm very, very sad about that. There will be no Throne Gator today. In the meantime, we also have the Banshee with its momentum gun. And so when I'm looking at this battlefield, I'm seeing there's basically 2 Gators that I need to clear out before I'll be able to pull this turtle in. And so he comes in, he slams the Gator, knocks him down, knocks down his buddy, and now they can't tough, and I believe he gets him down to like 1 damage point. Something pretty easy for the Mage Hunter Strike Force to kind of go and take care of. Then I have my free Narn. We're just doing a little pre-measuring, proxy base, to make sure we're all good and legal. He's going to scoot on up, and he's going to stabby, 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 and clear this Gator out, and then sprint backwards. So we're doing a nice job clearing everything out. Now we're down to just one Gator to take care of. And that's where my handy Mage Hunter Strike Force is hopefully going to come in and be able to break armor. There's also another Gator in the back that they're just going to start picking on. Just fun, really. You might as well try to get some wounds on him while you can. The guys who have the tokens there are aiming, because it's whenever you can aim with the Mage Hunter Strike Force, I've actually learned it's very useful to do so. Even though they are Rat 6, they don't ignore a lot of the things that they used to ignore. So I aim whenever I possibly can. Just going through, taking the pot shots, we're trying to break that armor. I'm doing really good on the hit rolls and not so good on the damage rolls. So they are able to remove the offending gator, so now I've got a clear shot to just bring this turtle right on in. And the other thing I'm checking is that it turns out that I can just aim with Helios. So we've got my Arcanist, he's going to concentrate to power me up. Helios is going to aim. The turtle has a very low defense, so it's very easy for all 3 shots to hit. And chug chug chug, pull him right on in, then take your initials with the fists. And he's just smacking up that poor turtle like it is going out of style. So he will eventually kill it with 1 focus to spare, which is absolutely perfect for me because then I can spend that one to put a propulsor field. So now whenever he sends things in, they either got to get, pretty close or they're going to get bounced back, and it really helps to prevent a lot of the retaliation coming my way. So with that side of the board done, now we kind of need to take a gander at what's going on over here at the bottom. Obviously you don't want to lose on scenario. And I'm also measuring to see if I can maybe cast a spell at that one gator who's in the zone. Maybe, try to clear out more of them. It's not looking too good. Goreshade goes ahead. He cycles Ghost Walk onto the bottom Mage Hunter Strike Force unit. I'm measuring my kill box, and then I'm measuring the threat range for his feet, so that way I'm not kill boxing myself and I'm not giving him a nice easy feet kill, particularly while there's still 2 posse left. So then I have Ghost Walk out of the way. My basic aim is to try to get one of these posse down to 3 wounds, and then have Eiryss just use a little bolt on them. The other thing that Goreshade did do is feet this turn, so everybody's got concealment, and anybody who ends within 2 inches of my models is stationary. That'll obviously be very helpful in the next turn when it comes time to actually start hitting the models. So there we go to work on one of the gators, and essentially get him down to 4 health. And remember, my goal was 3. So there's going to be no Death Bolt, which is very sad for me. So I go ahead and I walk Eiryss just into the zone, and she just kind of hard rolls the damage on that gator, or maybe I'll get lucky and get 4, and she actually does 3 damage. So there you go.
Minions turn 3. Alright, so figured out the play my opponent's going to do with Helios. We're just going to shoot everything 3 times and drag it into kill. So I'm going to have to keep that in mind with my next movement. So after I do take my vengeance moves with one of the posse units, I'm going to figure out what my attack plan is going to be. I figured the blue zone, only 3 guys, that posse should be able to clear it out and I'll start scoring points there. But I figured I need to put some more damage on Helios and really soften him up, because inevitably it's going to come down to either a heavy Orb Beast or a Barnabas trying to take him out. So as I kind of finalize my plans and my thoughts, or the plans in my mind, I go ahead and take care of the easy to do stuff, which is posse in the blue zone, clear blue zone, simple enough. So the posse, they're doing offerings to Cossack because they have to hit these stupid little Strike Force guys, and they're difficult to hit. But the posse managed to get it done, even though it took like 4 rerolled attacks on Eiryss just to get rid of her. But because my opponent popped his feet, my guy, I'm also going to have a round of stationary guys, so they're going to be vulnerable to counterattack from my opponent. So now that I got the blue zone, I need to work on start taking out some additional Strike Force members in the red zone. And since my one Ironback Spitter that was near blue zone didn't have a whole lot to shoot at, I moved him up, took another shot at Helios, put some more damage on him. Then came time for the broadleaf gators are gator unit number 2. I flung them in there with the intention of doing a fair amount of damage. In order for the gators to put damage on Helios, they have to get good rolls with a charge attack. So this maneuver is relying on a bit of luck to try and soften up Helios. And like the first couple guys, they do very well. They're a lot better than the average. The third guy basically averages out the die roll. And then because my opponent's feet, everyone went stationary. So just working on what to do with the remaining turn. My opponent still has his guys clumped up in the red zone. But I need to do more than that, so I do Offerings Caustic, so they reroll Mist against living models, and I send in the last Posse unit to try and thin out the Mage Hunter Strike Force some. But to be honest, I also needed to get the Posse members out of the way, because they were kind of standing where I want my next Swamp Pit to go. So once they're done, move up Barnabas ever so slightly, then move up Ironback Spitter into the red zone, and have him lob his shot into the Mage Hunter Strike Force unit that's on the far end. Does pretty well, and I end up getting 2 or 3 guys. So at this point, we're looking at both Mage Hunter Strike Force units being at or below half. So then I go ahead and pop the Bolt Snapper in front of Barnabas to prevent charges and collect points.
So the Posse did get some charges off on the Helios. It's it's something I was trying to prevent, but it didn't go too bad for me, partly due to his dice, and so a lot of them ended up stationary. The Posse down at the bottom of the table, they are stationary because they struggled a little bit on Eiryss. So as far as feat turns go, I mean, I think I got 5 models in it, so that's not terrible. So what we're gonna do is just kind of grind away. Obviously, I cannot get the turtle that is in the Swamp Pit with Helios just because I can't target it. And so one of the things I was kind of looking at is can I get Helios to Barnabas? And it's not looking good for that either. So we're gonna just kind of do some other attrition. This is gonna grind. What I ended up doing is actually we're going to load up the Banshee. We're going to Ghost Walk him, send him in on that turtle on the bottom of the screen. So just checking to make sure if that Gator's there, or not there, do I have line of sight. So again, we're going to do the little apparition, advancing, two-handed throw trick, get that Gator out of the way with the Chimera, Ghost Walk the Banshee, concentrate power, send him in after the turtle. So, do my apparition move, allocate a little focus, allocate a little to Helios to just beat some guys up. One of the reasons why Helios was specifically included in this army is Goreshade does absolutely nothing to help you with threat extension. It does absolutely nothing to help you with hitting power. So to have that threat extension help from Helios's gun alongside the POW 21, POW 23 fists helps to kind of solve 2 problems that Goreshade has with a lot of his list building. I brought the Banshee as kind of a backup heavy. I don't like putting all my eggs into one colossal basket. And in this case, it's paying off, in dividends, as I can sit here and I can alpha strike out another one of his heavies and further attrition down and remove his ability to really handle the quote-unquote armor. It's not, a heavy armor army, but his ability to attrition me back. So I successfully this time two-hand throw the Gator out of the way, and then the Banshee goes ahead, he charges in, and he ends up killing the turtle. I think due to just the way the damage dice rolls happened, it took all of his focus to do so. I think he leaves the turtle on 1 health and has 1 focus left to go, so what are you going to do? But at least that 1 Gator is now knocked down and not receiving orders. And now we're down to just 1 turtle for trying to assassinate me, which I feel very happy not getting killed. In the meantime, we have the Mage Hunter Strike Force. They're going to go ahead and start charging models now. One of the Gators there, the one who just got charged, only has 1 health. So I go ahead, I put 2 of the Strike Force on him, just to make sure that I'm actually starting to remove models, make sure that I'm contesting, blocking things up, so that way, it's difficult for the Posse to get onto Goreshade, particularly because he's naked right now. I know people talk a lot about, using Revive on the Spears of Syra. What I find personally is that between allocating and cycling around Ghostwalk, cycling around Chiller, Goreshade really, he spends all of his focus, at least for me. So I don't have the spears in here because I don't think that they're really necessary. So, activate up Helios, he does his power attack sweep, and just punks a bunch of Gators, which is awesome. And then he goes ahead and heals himself up a little bit with the shield, using the focus, and then puts on Repulsor Field. Then the rest of the Mage Hunter Strike Force is running charging. And they're just going to try to remove that stationary Gator and stuck together. And then take some swings on that other Gator who's up top. And again, just not losing on scenario, and then just attrition, grind.
Alright, so my opponent's feat did what I expected to. All the guys that were stationary, they were killed. What I didn't count on was my opponent being able to get his other heavy to my second Ironback Spitter that's in a blue zone. So I lost another Spitter while I wasn't planning on it. But my opponent did leave his caster on 0 focus. So, knowing Goreshade's stats, I'm thinking I have a reasonable chance at pulling off the assassination. So as I'm, working on my measurements, factoring in how Warpath's going to be able to get me there. First thing I know is I've got stuff in my own way. Gotta figure out where Barnabas needs to be in order to pop his feet and pull off a Flesh Eater. Pile 13, dice -3. I probably need slightly better die rolls than average. And then if I can kill a couple more of the Mage Hunter Strike Force members in the blue zone, I may have a guy that's a Posse member that's able to charge out and get within reach range of Goreshade. He'd take a free strike, but the melee weapons on the Mage Hunter Strike Force may not be strong enough to put him down, but that's more of like a plan C type option. I want to try and take it out of range. So I start with what I know I need to get done first. Get things out of the way. Bull Snapper charges one of the Mage Hunter Strike Force members in the red unit, allowing me to Warpath my Ironback Spitter up. Then I go ahead and activate the center Posse unit, get them out of the way, and just take, token swings on whatever jacks are nearby. Big thing is make sure they are not in my way. And then comes the critical piece, doing my final measurements to figure out final positioning, where Barnabas can charge Helios and get within feet range. In doing so, I incorrectly placed the Ironback Spitter. I put him in a manner to where Barnabas couldn't get the correct charge off on Helios and have it be a successful charge. So I kind of shot myself in the foot a little bit. And at this point, as it's becoming very clear to me that that's not gonna work, and what I did to myself, I'm having to kind of change my plan mid-turn. So I know I've been working on Helios and putting damage on him, so I I decided to try and commit into taking that Helios. But in amazing fashion, I do an absolutely horrible job, and Ironback Spitter misses the charge attack, which would have put enough damage on Helios to where Barnabas probably could have killed him. So Ironback Spitter, hilarious fail. Still trying to put as much damage as I can on him. But at this point, I'm looking at ways to save the turn and not actually get myself killed. So I put down a Swamp Pit after I decided not to charge Helios with Barnabas. And I try and put my Mist Speaker in front of Barnabas to block him from getting charged. And then I just put Viktor Pendrake in position for the next turn, knock down his Arc Node, and just clear out the blue zone again. Get a couple more points, whittle down my opponent's Mage Hunter Strike Force. So put myself up at 2 points. If I somehow get some more, I may be able to win on scenario.
So I ended up not dying last turn, which is very good for me. I still really can't get to Barnabas, which is unfortunate. So Goreshade goes ahead, he starts allocating out focus again. We're looking to, again, kill off the turtle, get the Helios into the center zone, clear out the center zone, so that now I start scoring control points and start preventing him from getting even further ahead on scenario. So go ahead, what I'm doing here is I'm measuring the Banshee, so that way I can get the leader of the Gatormen Posse within wailing range, and then he's just going to be stabbing these two Posse to death. Again, focusing on trying to clear out this zone right here. So go ahead, kill them, no problem, and now those other Posse are not going to receive any orders, they're not going to run, they're not going to charge. And realistically, I don't think that without having those boosts that they can actually crack the armor of the Jacks. Now I have the Chimera going ahead. He's going to do my favorite trick, two-handed throw. Unfortunately, he actually misses the target, so ends up just kind of throwing it over Pendrake, doing a little bit of damage, but knocking some Gators down, which is really what we care about. Then up top, we actually have Goreshade. He's kind of moving away from the Gators, and he's going to spend his last 2 focus to put Chiller up onto the Helios. So Helios is going, we're making sure Helios is towing the zone, and then he is going to take his punches onto the turtle, and then he's going to take his initial punches onto the Gator. The other thing he does after his initials is he uses the gun to actually move the Gator out of the zone, so that way, even if it takes all my initials to kill the turtle, and the Gator toughs, or I miss the Gator, or things like that, he's no longer contesting, so we'll be good together. So Helios is actually, we kind of declared it, he's got fiddly on the thing, but he is in the zone. And then the Mage Hunter Strike Force, they're just going in, they're charging models now to try to jam stuff up. More attrition, kill off, the Mist Speaker, things like that. So there we go, now we're kind of fixing up Helios. At some point I realized he wasn't on the hill.
Gaston finally gave me the opening I was looking for. Yes, I need to do a little work in order to make it happen, but it was pretty much the setup I needed. Only bad thing is, Pendrake was on the ground. Because he was on the ground, I lost him as a viable range threat. But, at this point, who cares? I'm going for the assassination run that I know I need to pull off. So, I'm going to clear up a charge lane to a Mage Hunter Strike Force member who's on the hill behind Helios. So everyone becomes a weapon now. Little Snapper kills a Strike Force member. Feralgeist swings around, comes around, takes out another. Then Barnabas charges the Mage Hunter Strike Force member he needed to. Plan at this point is to charge him, charge this last guy in the back, feet, that way I get a blood boon, and that would give me 3 Flesh Eaters at Goreshade. Now, the ultimate dilemma. Do I go for 3 unboosted Flesh Eaters or 2 boosted? I elected to go for 3 unboosted, try to go for volume over quality. I failed, left 2 on him. That's the end of my turn.
So I had this more or less all locked up on attrition, and then I made a very stupid mistake with casting Chiller, like I did. Because if I'd kept that to focus, I could have actually cancelled his spells, and then there would have been no feat, and I would have been good to go. So Goreshade, he shakes, and then we're just going to go ahead and wrap this up. He charges Barnabas, and stationaries him, boost to hit, stationary. Then puts a couple boosted damage dice into him, and then Helios is going to turn around and finish off the game. But thank you all for watching, and hopefully this was an interesting peek into the new Retribution Warcaster.
Alright, just for afterthoughts, I eventually did get the assassination run that I was looking for, and as I mentioned previously, it came down to quantity versus quality. At the time I elected to go for quantity, left Goreshade on a couple. I ended up just rolling out fighting off the 2 fully boosted just because I was curious, and no, I torture myself in ways such as this. And the way I rolled, Goreshade would have had the same amount of life. So it was just comical. Anyhow, I enjoyed the game. I hadn't really played a whole lot of minions since Mark III, and then no pigs being better than gators. I'm gator only at the moment. I thought the Blindwater theme was very fun to play. Yes, gators are straightforward, but I play them when I need a break from cricks, and I just enjoy it when I do, even though I don't do as well with them.